The opinions expressed by the host and guests in this show are not necessarily the views of Children's Health Defense.
Good morning, CHD. It is Wednesday, November the 26th, 2025. We are live here on CHD TV this morning. We have a powerful show for you this morning. In a minute, we're going to be speaking to Pam Long, and Director of the Military Chapter for Children's Health Defense, Brian Burrows and Toby Tommy, about the new film, Duty to Disobey, and some weird stuff going on. So we're going to be talking about that. And then we have a tragic story of this beautiful Josie, 4-month-old baby girl, who passed away following vaccination. And this only happened in August of this year. And the parents very bravely coming on to tell the story of Josie. So that is coming up after we talk to Pam, Toby, and Brian. Good morning, all of you. Thank you for being here so early.
Good morning.
All right, well, so there has been some weird shenanigans going on. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first thing we're going to talk about is the Children's Health Defense film made by Toby and Brian of Tommy Burrows Productions. Just disclaimer here, this is Tommy is my son, but this is not my company. It is his company with Brian. And Toby, you and Pam got together first to talk about how we could put this into a documentary. Maybe at that time, Children's Health Defense would fund it, which is you, the people. Thank you to you all doing it. So let's talk about that and how you guys got involved and the stories. I remember getting on a Zoom call with you and being absolutely blown away by the stories from the military members. So Pam, I think let's start with you and what made you even think that we should be doing this?
Well, as the director of the new CHD military chapter, our team came up with this idea of a documentary. Documentaries are very powerful. They reach the American public in ways that other mediums cannot reach them. And we pitched this idea to Toby, and Toby and Brian said, absolutely, we would be honored to tell the stories of these service members who were so wronged during the illegal EUA COVID mandates in the military and continue to be persecuted for their religious beliefs and denied accommodations for the influenza vaccine to this day.
Yeah, we could talk about that a bit later because there are still massive struggles going on in the military. We're hearing from them. So Toby, you then got together with Brian and we mapped it out, and we've interviewed between us, I think, around 32 people.
Yeah, so we've interviewed 32 people. I remember when Pam reached out at the beginning of the year, I think February, we emailed back and forth for a little bit, and I eventually got on one of the CHD military chapter calls where I heard their thoughts and listened to their stories. And immediately after that call, I knew that this had to be made, not only for them, but for the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's another level, isn't it, Brian? You also, well, you've been filming all of these interviews with us. It's just another level to Vax 1, 2, and 3. This is something completely different. And all of those films are disturbing, but there's something very sinister about what we heard from these people.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't sure that I really wanted to do this. It was just so different from everything that we had done. And after the first interview that we did, I was like, oh my goodness, this has to be told. Like, we have to get this out there. And I'll say, all of those interviews that we've done, I've been absolutely blown away by these people, these service members. They're just incredible people. And you want to talk about bravery and you want to talk about standing up for your rights. This is actually exactly what we do. And so it's fit like a glove. And I'm so excited to be able and honored to be able to help tell this story.
Yeah, and Pam, we're getting already, just from the trailer teaser being out, we're getting so many military members contacting us, thanking us, you, for even thinking of them, because the military don't get talked about enough. And as Brian said, what an amazing group of 32 people that we've interviewed so far. I mean, amazing human beings.
These are amazing human beings, and they truly believe they are on a rescue mission. For all of you moms out there who have been at your state capitals for years on this issue, these people are absolute heroes, and they are on this forever. They will not quit until exemptions are honored and our issue is fixed for our children.
Now, Pam, when you said the movie's going to be called Duty to Disobey, I didn't understand or have a clue what you were talking about. But now I do, because I've listened to these 32 interviews. Can you tell the public, because this is where the shenanigans is coming in. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first up, tell the public what Duty to Disobey means. Then we'll play a little clip as well.
So in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, there are two provisions for when someone in the military can refuse an order, an unlawful order, and they have a duty to disobey. That is military terminology. And those two conditions are when an order violates the Constitution or when it is just blatantly illegal or criminal. And that is the context for what the discussion is currently with our political and elected leaders today.
So let's, Lou, if you don't mind, let's just play that clip, which I think explains it a bit as well.
Is there action that can be taken by those advisors if the president overrules that decision and says, no, we're going with a nuclear attack?
Other than to state their view about the legality of the move, the president retains constitutional authority to order some military action. The military, you would be in a very interesting constitutional situation, I believe, because again, the military is obligated to follow legal orders, but is not obligated to follow illegal orders. The question:
Who would make that judgment on behalf of the operational command under the DoD?
Well, I think it's one of the things that would be on the plate of the commander of Strategic Command. I always believed that that was on my plate. That ultimately, it's very difficult.
So let me just drill down on this. If you believe that this did not meet the legal tests of proportionality, even if ordered by the President of the United States to use a nuclear first strike, you believe that because of legalities, you retain that decision to disobey the Commander-in-Chief?
Yes. If there is an illegal order presented to the military is obligated to refuse to follow it.
All right, so that helps explain the illegal order, duty to disobey. Right, let's just talk about this now for a second, because this, everybody listening, is very important. So on November the 7th, at the Children's Health Defense Conference in Austin, Texas, we released this trailer to the people at the conference and now out to the world. At the same time, or just a little bit afterwards, weirdly enough, Pam, I'm going to hand over to you, the Democrats did something super weird.
It is. The timing is, I could speculate on the timing that 6 Democrats and the national, our senators and our elected representatives, they released a video montage, very heavily scripted, encouraging service members to disobey illegal orders from President Trump. And I think anyone who is in our community has started to recognize a pattern here. Anytime that, our issues become highly political, and we see the response usually to truth is some weird viral video of elected people taking Tylenol, even though we know that it has risks, and encouraging people to take Tylenol, or drinking food dyes when we know food dyes are not healthy. I think this is the same category of political theater where these politicians are trying to encourage people to disobey, just in general, our commander-in-chief, President Trump. And our military members will see right through this, that they know when they can disobey an order and when they cannot. And our issue with the illegal EUA COVID vaccine is very different from what is going on right now with fishing boats and narco-terrorism. We are talking about an issue in our documentary which involves something that has been substantiated through multiple legal channels as illegal. For example, case law, Doe v. Rumsfeld established you cannot mandate an EUA or experimental vaccine for service members. We have multiple lawsuits against the COVID mandate under the Biden administration. We have President Trump himself has pardoned service members for the unlawful mandate. The Secretary of War has publicly stated it was an unlawful mandate. So our issue is very substantiated. It is not a call for mutiny. It is very appropriate that we are talking about how service members were impacted by an unlawful order from the Department of War.
Right. So, and the reason why we're talking about this morning is we do not want you, the public, to think that we are in any way part of what they're doing. But Pam, it seems an awful coincidence that they do this right as we release Duty to Disobey. How much of a threat is this movie going to be to them?
You know, I do expect opposition to this documentary. I did not expect it from just the trailer. So let's get ready for, we are going into an election year next year. So that probably has people pretty fearful of, especially if they're in an elected position in Congress, of their decisions not to support our service members when they were begging for help under an unlawful mandate.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely shocking. Brian and Toby, again, I know I've asked you this question, Brian, so let's go to Toby. What do you feel, because you're young, 27 years old, you're young, and you're listening to these people talking about, and they're young, a lot of them are young that we're interviewing. And how has it affected you just listening to them?
Yeah, I mean, what the service members went through is horrific. I mean, dishonorably discharged, pay taken away. We've had service members that took the shot and are severely injured. Some of them were homeless for a period of time. I mean, a lot of them decades of service and kicked out over refusing an EUA shot. It's not how we should be treating the people that serve this country.
That's right. And Pam, you know, we heard so many times how much they love the military. So no one's hating on the military. All of them were just, what a great opportunity, what a great life they've had. But things have to change if they are going to, for example, allow their children to follow their parents' footsteps to go in. And that was shocking to us as well.
Exactly. And that's why I don't want to focus on these 6 senators with their circus, right? We want to focus on 8,000 service members who were forced discharged out of service, lost their career, lost benefits, lost retirement. Some of them lost their health. And then potentially 95,000 others were also voluntarily discharged themselves because they wanted to avoid UCMJ punishment, court-martial, to avoid an unlawful mandate of an experimental vaccine. Those are the people we are focusing on in this documentary, and we're all just going to ignore 6 senators with their, you know, circus political theater of calling for some type of mutiny of our service members.
And it's important, that's why we're bringing this up today. Brian, as you are going through the footage, you're heavily down editing this, where you've got a team around you. How's it coming together, and is it as dark as, say, Vax 2?
It's different. You know, I'm Canadian, and when I moved to the US, one of the things I was really struck by was how everybody lauded the troops, lauded the military. We don't really have that in Canada. You know, like, they're the reason for our freedom. Like, these people are, you know, every Memorial Day, every 4th of July, you know, president gets up there, like everybody on the news gets up there and talks about these people and how these people are the reason that we are the freest country in the world and all of that stuff. The fact that these people, these incredible service members, didn't have the freedom to make decisions about their own body is infuriating, and lost, you know, they were going to go and put their lives on the line for this country, and the fact that they were treated the way they were is just, like, it's unfathomable. And I think once we get this film out to the public, I think people are going to be so upset. People are going to be so upset. So yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy in a different way, but we're really talking about the best of the best. These people are incredible, incredible people, and we just want to do right by them. The military is so important to this country, and I think one of the questions that you always ask, Polly, while we're interviewing these people, like, would you have, given what's going on right now, would you have your son or daughter join the military? We want people to join the military. And so, I'm hoping that this film puts enough pressure on, whoever it is, the Department of Defense, or just we put public pressure on them, that things will change, because we need a standing army. We need a standing army in this country. So, yeah, I'm very excited to get this out and to see how it affects the public, because people aren't aware of what's going on or what's happened.
And Pam, to this day, we're getting calls about these poor military members being chased around for their flu shots right now. They don't want them. After COVID, they've really woken up and they've gone down that rabbit hole, and they've looked at what's in all these shots, and they don't want to put that into their bodies when they're trying to fight and defend for us.
Correct. And so currently we have potentially hundreds of service members who are trying to exempt from the influenza vaccine. Most of your viewers will know the influenza vaccine has negative efficacy, up to negative 27% efficacy, meaning more harm than benefit, meaning increases your chances of acquiring a respiratory virus up to 65%. And when you have people in the Department of War holding $70 million contracts, alleging that this is necessary. There's a compelling government interest to protect the troops for readiness, and the facts do not support this vaccine. Furthermore, as you mentioned, many people have a religious objection to this vaccine, and we are working at Children's Health Defense in the military chapter to fix this process of what we call accommodations or vaccine exemptions for service members. That process is systematically broken, and we do need the support of the public to put pressure on Congress, pressure on the Department of War to acknowledge that that exemption process is broken. You do not give up your constitutional rights to defend the Constitution.
And Pam, I was speaking to some military members recently who are trying everything they can to be put into a position somewhere, even if it's a lower position than they're in now, so they don't get deployed, because they're still giving anthrax. Why?
That is a good question. Accountability is lacking. We know that the anthrax history, in a nutshell, is that, one, there are no countries that have weaponized anthrax. US and China maybe have the capability, but there's no proof that it's ever been brought to fruition. Secondly, most of these service members getting the anthrax series are deploying to places like California, where there is absolutely no inhalation anthrax threat. Year after year, this multiple doses of this vaccine. And then ultimately, we know that the anthrax vaccine has never demonstrated efficacy to prevent any type of fatality from inhalation anthrax. This is another story of where there's a huge pharmaceutical contract with the Department of War that is winning over the health of service members.
And well, to everybody really, why should people watch this documentary? Because someone watching now would just be like, well, I don't have any military members. It doesn't really concern me. Why should everybody watch? Start with you, Pam.
Well, first, I'd say that everything that happens in the military with vaccine mandates is absolutely a dress rehearsal for the civilian population. The anthrax experimental mandate in the military was the exact rehearsal for what would happen in the COVID pandemic, where there was a manufactured crisis and then there were mandates. And so if you want to prevent another COVID-like operation, then we have to settle these issues and get accountability within the Department of War.
And Toby, when are we we're releasing it in June. We know that we're going to be censored like crazy on this. What is the plan at the moment? We're early stages, and maybe there's some people in the viewers that can help with this. What's the plan for the release?
Yeah, so we're looking at new ways of distribution. the theatrical runs we've done in the past have always been fun, so we're gonna keep that going. Hopefully in a way that it benefits the people a bit more. And we're looking at streaming services as well. So.
All right, so if there's anybody out there who knows a way to get out of this censorship, because Pam, they are going to come for us with this. They don't want this out.
Absolutely, but we have a plan. We will overcome.
Oh yeah, of course we will overcome. They're never going to beat us. Brian, so again, to you, why should people watch this documentary, having looked at the footage?
People need to be aware of what's going on. People need to be aware of what people in power are doing, not on the behalf of the people, but on behalf of pharmaceutical interests. I mean, it's the same old story. It's amazing that it's happening to people who fly hundreds of $1 million jets in order to protect us. So yeah, people need to know what's happening. And I think, like I said earlier, I think once people do find out what's happening, they're going to be so upset about it. And the things don't change until people get upset. So I'm interested to see how people react to this.
Thank you. Pam, how can people contact you, the military chapter? I know we talked about this earlier in the week, but there are people that, like someone said to me after the show we did on Monday, well, my husband applied for a religious exemption. It got turned down. Where do they go from there? Can they reapply? But I suggest they join your chapter, right?
Yes, follow us on social media. We have a website. You see it on your screen right now. There's the most important link up there is at the top, accommodations. That's the process for filing an accommodation. That's where you start. When then you run into trouble with it not getting approved or getting disapproved and it's redacted or you never hear back, that's where some of our people in our chapter can help you and advise you of what your options are at that point. Unfortunately, right now, it usually involves an attorney. That is the reality right now. We are working for change. We have supportive people in the Department of War working with us, communicating with us, but that is the reality right now. But you must start the process of an accommodation, even though the process is just systematically broken.
And what wonderful people in your chapter as well. So you get actual support from others as well.
Yes, find us on Telegram, Instagram, X, or the website, and in your state chapters, your state CHD chapters can connect you to us.
Thank you, Pam. You're doing absolutely amazing work. And also, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I mean, I don't know about you, Brian and Toby, but I had no idea the military service members were going through this. None.
No, not at all. And it's interesting. I feel like a kinship with these people already. I've met them just a couple of times, and we met at the CHD conference, and it was like meeting old friends. We ran up and hugged each other, and they're just special people. So we really want to do right by them.
Yeah, and just to summarize that as well, to people listening, we are not hating on the military in any way, shape or form. We love the military. Children's Health Defence love the military for some time. There are things that have got to be changed. Is that, Pam, do you want to expand on that?
We absolutely felt the love from the CHD community at the conference in Austin. I mean, they gave our service members a standing ovation. We feel so supported, not just this documentary, but in so many other ways. So thank you to all the donors to CHD. You are helping us with this mission.
Thank you, Pam. And so Brian and Toby, you have a little gift for everybody, maybe a little Thanksgiving gift. Toby, tell us about it.
Yes, for Black Friday, we are giving away free Vax shirts, Vaxxed and Vax 2 t-shirts on our website. So if you go to tommyburrowsproductions.com, you'll see a little shop icon at the top. Click that and get your free Vax shirts.
Yeah, those are great conversation starters at the grocery store, let me tell you.
Yeah, so they're vintage as well. So yes, you do have a lot of merch, and you're going to give them away. So if you want those, then contact Tommy Burrows and Productions. Right, thank you to everybody, you guys, for being on this morning. It's just really important that we wanted you all to know we are not part of whatever that other duty to disobey thing is that's going on. We are completely separate. And what the documentary is doing is vital and important. We will not change the name of this documentary. So whatever is going on, the dark side are doing out there, we are no part of that. So any other comments to add to that, Pam?
Thank you so much, CHD community, and to our military members. Happy Thanksgiving. You sacrifice so much of your time and so much more, and we're here for you.
Yeah, we are. All right. Well, Pam, Brian, and Toby, thank you for being on this morning. Thank you for your free gift of merch, so people will go over and get their free T-shirts. And Pam, thank you for explaining again. I'm sure that Pam will be on a lot before this documentary is out to explain all the things that are going on. But you, the viewers, thank you for helping us make this, because it's your support that makes this happen. And I know that you're going to be heavily involved in sharing this documentary once it's out, because we're going to need all your help. So thank you, Pam, Brian, and Toby. Have an amazing Thanksgiving. And we'll see you again soon.
See you soon. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, everybody. So I'm glad that we did that, because it was causing a lot of confusion out there. So now we put that one straight. So now we're going to go to our story, which is just tragic. Good morning, Mollie. Good morning, Ryan. Thank you for being here this morning. Can you hear us?
Yes. Morning.
Good morning.
So your beautiful little Josie, this was just August of this year.
August 21st.
Look at that picture. She's just beautiful. I'm going to let you, in your own words, talk us through what happened to Josie.
So on August 19th, it was actually our wedding anniversary. Josie had her 4-month well visit at the pediatrician. And of course, with that, our vaccines. And we blindly walked into that. And she received her vaccines for the day, 2 shots of mixed vaccines and then an oral. And 2 days later, our perfect, beautifully healthy baby girl, full of joy, full of love, went down for her afternoon nap and never woke back up. We had no signs, nothing. I mean, she was literally the happiest, most perfect baby. We used to say to each other, we don't deserve her. She is literally the perfect baby. And in an instant, she was taken from us. And the only reason fathomable is from the vaccines. Her 11-pound little body could not take all of that at one time.
She had polio, pneumococcal, and DTaP that day. Is that correct?
And rotavirus.
And rotavirus. Okay.
Yeah, she had 2 injections. She had 1 on each thigh, and then oral.
Even in the hospital, she still had her Band-Aids from her vaccines when she passed away. So that's the only thing that could have caused it.
And did you ask, did you tell the doctors that this is what she'd had? What was their response?
So I've been dealing with our pediatrician for 14 years with our oldest daughter. She's great. She basically was just appalled at the fact that that she had a clean bill of health, and then out of nowhere just stopped breathing. So she did actually fill out a VAERS report for us. So that's one step in the right direction. But it's been tough. From the day that she stopped breathing to doing CPR in front of my wife and kids, her sisters, to getting her back. I got pulses back, and she lived for about 3 days on life support.
I mean, she was really gone.
She was really gone, but she
21st.
She was 100% healthy, prior to the vaccinations. And even with genetic testing with my wife and I and her, it was we were completely negative. We had no signs of anything in genetics.
Her blood work came back clear. They even did like some scans to prove her brain death, and they didn't see anything really out of the norm there. She literally, I mean, look at her. She's perfect. beautiful, perfect, healthy, advanced in all of her milestones. She was rolling both ways, lifting her head up, no compromised airways. Like, she was perfect.
Yeah, she, and that's kind of what I had spoke to, being a paramedic, I know, like, how a baby can maintain their airway, how they're able to hold up their head and stuff. She was at 4 months, but she was at a 6 month mile marker. Like I said, like my wife said, she was lifting her head, looking around. She could hold the weight of her head up. We didn't even have to cradle her and support her head anymore. You could hold her on your side and she would look around just like an 8 month old baby, 6, 8 months old. So it's just been hard.
I can't imagine how hard this has been for you. So you have 3 other daughters. So let's talk about this for a second, because you clearly weren't anti-vax because you vaccinated your children.
Yep.
So did you ever hear about issues with vaccines before?
No. And actually, when we went back to check the vaccine schedule for our other girls, for our 5-year-old and our 3-year-old, we unintentionally had a delayed schedule because Lacey, our 5-year-old, she was during COVID, so we weren't going to the doctor in person. And then with Emily, she was sick, and I just didn't feel right giving her, injections while she was sick. So unintentionally, we delayed that vaccine schedule for those girls. And with Josie, we didn't have that. We just blindly followed. We trusted our pediatrician. We, trusted the medical field and the experts, if you will.
We follow the CDC's guidelines. And looking back now, I wish we had waited till, even if we did end up vaccinating, spread the schedule out and, wait till, she's beyond the vulnerable age, where infants can't, their immune system are suppressed. They're not as good to fight off things, at least wait till she's 18 months old to give vaccines if you are going to.
I think one of the most surprising things that we have found is that talking to our primary care doctor, our pediatrician, other doctors, they're not even aware of vaccine court and how you can't even, sue the vaccine companies and they're protected by the government. They are completely unaware of that.
None of them know about the Vaccine Act of '86. It's just.
Brian and Mollie, how does this make you feel with vaccinations going forward?
We absolutely will not do that to our children at this point. Like, we feel as if we have to research literally everything.
I think for us, we got to be able to evaluate risk versus reward moving forward, and it's just a lot of the things when you start doing the research and the backgrounds on the individual vaccines, what child at that age needs Hep B. They're not sexually active, and when mom doesn't carry Hep B, it can't. There's no need to pass. They can't pass it through vaginally. So there's no reason to have Hep B. That's just one of the vaccines that's just unnecessary at that age. So for us, I think it's not that we are completely against vaccinations, but we are going to do our due diligence to make sure that it's absolutely necessary and that it's not going to be harmful to our children. Like, at this rate where we are, we probably won't vaccinate moving forward.
I mean, our eyes are completely open. We go out in public, and the second Ryan sees a baby, he doesn't hesitate to go tell Josie's story. And look at her. She just, we tell everybody, just, delay, at a minimum delay. Like, these perfect tiny little babies, their bodies can't keep up with all that toxicity going in them. And why we even thought that they could, it just, looking back now, we could just
the signs,
ourselves.
the signs were all there. It was all right in front of us, but it was just unknown to the public. And working as a medical professional, we only know what we are told and what we're taught, and it's to really find the true, information that's out there. You have to really do diligence to be able to find it.
Yeah.
How are your girls doing now? You were talking about how when you found Josie, they were up there because you were performing CPR on her. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, she went down for her afternoon nap around 4, and
By 5:15.
by 5:15 she had stopped breathing, and we had started CPR on her, and
The girls,
the girls were just there with us watching everything happen.
they are, our 5-year-old, I think emotionally she's handling it appropriately, but she has a lot of questions. And, like what happened to baby Josie, and I miss her so much. And she prays every night, for baby Josie. And she's like, well, if, heaven's so great, why don't we all go to heaven to be with baby Josie? So it's kind of hard for her. She's still seeing like black and white and needs answers. And we just don't really have them to give to her.
And her 3-year-old, she randomly on her own says, I miss baby Josie. And 2 weeks after it happened, she was performing CPR on her little baby doll. At 3 years old,
She was 2.
Yeah, she was 2 at the time. She just did turn 3. But at 2 years old, doing CPR on a baby doll, I mean,
and singing a song like "Wake Up, Baby Josie" while she was doing CPR. Like it's still with.
It's still with us. It's still with our girls. I mean, my 14-year-old is compartmentalizing, and we're all doing counseling, but it's just every day's different. Some days are definitely harder than others. And our 6-year-old, 5-year-old, she's writing Josie's name on all her school assignments. In kindergarten, it's Lacey and then Josie. Right as her name.
She writes Josie on everything. We have columns on our front porch that are white. She'll take a marker and write her name. Everything says "I love Josie." So it's a huge impact, whether they're 2, 5, 14. It's just been devastating for all of us.
I can't imagine. So tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and Josie should be 7, 8 months old with you tomorrow. Yeah. Tell people what they've taken from you.
She was the biggest joy and probably the hardest time of our lives, and she brought so much happiness to everyone. She smiled all the time. She gave those big open mouth wet kisses, and no matter what was going on, she always made it better.
She was always smiling. Like, very rarely did she ever cry. I mean, just so happy all the time.
Our 5-year-old is really, really hyper and, spunky, and Josie just put her at ease. She could just sit there for hours holding her, and she would just smile and giggle, and we missed everything. She was starting to blow raspberries, and
losing her just put a void in us that I don't know that we'll ever recover from.
No.
It's really hard. People ask, like, how many children do you have? And like, we have 4, and our baby girl's in heaven. It's just really hard to explain. And I don't know. It's just the feeling losing a child is there's a piece of me completely gone that I will never get back.
I never recommend for anybody to have to go through this kind of pain. It's by far the worst. It's the whole, not getting her to see her do her milestones, like her to start walking, or, all our girls dance around in the living room in each other's dresses and stuff. And she'll never get to dance with me in the living room. Just see her grow up. That's done for her.
She just never had a chance to grow and have her Thanksgiving with us. And she did do a lot. I mean, for her 4 months, she loved the beach. She was a good traveler with us.
It's just so crazy that as parents, you try to do what's best for your children and not doing our due diligence, and actually researching stuff. We try to do what's best for them, and we followed what the CDC recommended, and it ended up taking her from us. Trying to do what's best for her, it ended up being the worst.
Like, we're not meant mentally, physically, or anything to plan our baby's funeral. And that's something that just everything haunts us every day. Going to sleep is impossible because you just keep reliving over and over what happened and seeing her in the hospital and the decisions that we were forced to make is it's kind of a hell that you live in every single day.
Thank you both for just being so brave to come on. What is your message to the young people? Because you don't have to be here right now telling the story. So what is your message to the young parents who want to follow their doctor? They want to follow the CDC. Why would they not?
Don't follow blindly. If anything, just start with a Google search about vaccines and studies, and things will start popping up to at least question. And even comparing with other countries, like a delayed vaccine schedule at a minimum, and what's in the vaccines, and read the warning labels and all the things that we didn't do because we just were like, you know what, we need to follow what the doctor says. They're the expert. Really, I will tell you, we love our pediatrician, but there's too much stuff even for them to be on top of sometimes. And we are the best advocate for our children. And we need to be there to support and research. Don't go into anything blindly.
Well, and the thing that we really like, even the pediatrician acknowledges is that, following the CDC's guidelines, there's kickbacks to pediatricians. They get kickbacks based on following the schedule. So, and most pediatricians have a waiver that you sign that says, or not a waiver, but a basically a contract that says that in order to stay a part of that that pediatrician, that practice, that you have to follow their guidelines with vaccinations, or else they can release you as a patient. Stuff that you don't really realize when you sign in the beginning, as a new patient, you just don't realize it.
Yeah, and listening to parents like you, this story is so important. I can't thank you enough. I don't know how you're doing it, but I'm so grateful to you for doing this, because we have done, sadly, so many stories of 4-month vaccination and then following death after the vaccine. So these stories are important, and these are what's warned the young parents ahead. We will never forget Josie. We're going to write Josie's name on our bus, which is 12,000 signatures between the two buses of death following vaccinations. And we will keep her on our website, and she will never be forgotten by our viewers. And I know that our viewers are showering you in so much love right now. Yes, Karen.
One other thing is, as a parent, after losing a child, don't just take, their word for it and letting them call your child's death SIDS, because that's just such a general term that they give to everybody for any child that's, 2 and under, basically. Don't stop there trying to find answers. The state of Delaware, for us, won't even put further testing in to find more information on what happened. We have to push to request samples from the medical examiner to have it sent out to another agency to be able to research it.
If anything, if a doctor tries to say it's SIDS, that should be an immediate start your research to prove otherwise. And there are definitely avenues you can take to help spread the word. And that's what we're we're hanging on to now. It's just trying to find, platforms like you guys graciously do so that we can, one, not forget about Josie and everybody know who she is, but also if one baby can be saved because of something that we were able to share, then it's worth it to us.
Yeah, the chart that you just had on the screen, we found an NIH.gov of a 29-year study that said 58% of SIDS deaths had been vaccinated within 2 days. And after 7 days of having a vaccination, 75% of SIDS deaths had been vaccinated. So those numbers are right there. It's just too plain as day for us not to acknowledge it and open our eyes to this.
Yeah, Ryan and Mollie, thank you so much for your experience and education and talking about your beautiful daughter, Josie. She really was absolutely stunning. We're so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming on. Oh gosh, everybody. Okay, so that's another story to go into our people study stories, and I don't know how many deaths. I mean, what's it going to take? How many more stories do we have to tell before the world wakes up to the real dangers of vaccines? I have a little bit of news for you here. Let me just put my glasses on so I can read this correct. We have a new book called Total Load Theory. It's by Patricia Lima, and it's now available in the Children's Health Defense bookstore and Amazon. Patricia has been around a long time, and she will have written a very good book there. So there's the bookstore there. We have many more books as well for you. Also, Dr. Humphreys tweeted out about the Oswald book being banned from Amazon. So remember we did that story on CHD TV there, our Deadly Secrets and Monkey Business. That actually was reshared by Joe Rogan on X and is doing really well, so as it should do, because what Dr. Suzanne taught us was nothing short of horrific. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to you all. I hope that you all are going to have a really good rest and a day with your family, and remember, raise a glass, everybody, to those that have lost loved ones, because it's a very sad situation, so much death. But tomorrow we're going to be playing a Joan Shenton movie on AZT. I want to say AZT, but it's AZT, Cause for Concern. And this is a very important documentary, so you need to watch that. And if you can't watch it tomorrow, don't worry, it will be in our movie section and you'll be able to watch it later. And I think that's it for news, unless I've missed anything out, Lou. But to you all, that was very sad, that story. So, give yourselves a hug, because it's tough. But anyway, so tomorrow, Thanksgiving, have a wonderful day, everybody. And we'll be back on Friday. Bye. We're live. Okay, tell us your name, please.
My name is Jacqueline Quinn. I am a doctor of Oriental Medicine, and most of my people know me as Dr. J.J. Quinn.
Dr. J.J. Quinn, okay.
Yep.
Well, you started off in the military, and what did you do in the military?
I was a Chinese linguist. And when I left the military, I attended the University of Notre Dame in neuroscience as a graduate student. And it was there that I first started to have blackouts and ended up in the care of a neurologist, of course, and ended up on medications for petit mal seizures, for seizure disorder.
Now, will you talk to us about what it's like being vaccinated in the military? Because
it's just, I didn't know at that time to question it, whatever. It was just in basic training, you had a couple of days where just everybody lined up without their BDU jacket on, and you just got shots one arm to the next.
You had no idea what you were getting.
No idea what you were getting. I do still have my little military immunization packet that I've looked at later, but yeah, and then every year you got the flu shot, you got whatever was mandated, and it just was something at that point. It never occurred to me to even question it.
So talk us through your first seizure. What happened there?
Well, what was happening is while I was at graduate school, if I would get under any amount of stress, I would feel, the world would start to, it's been a long time since I've had one, but I would feel it coming. I'd have that prequel, so to speak, and I would grab a wall, I would grab a seat, whatever, and I would just black out. And thankfully, it never happened somewhere where I was in the car. They made me afraid to even take a bath living alone because, you could drown in your bathtub. But yeah, so it just was when I would get stressed, I would blank out. And being a student of neuroscience, I understood with a little extra research what was happening was, there were so many neurotransmitters in between my brain cells that they would just create confusion, and the brain's way of handling it is to just give me a reset, kind of like rebooting the computer. And I understood that the medication they were giving me was, first of all, making me completely, I would say, stupid. I just could not remember had I had breakfast. I just was not me. And I was also at the same time on an antidepressant as well. And so, of course, I thought, well, my gosh, the antidepressant is keeping more neurotransmitters in my brain. And then the anti-seizures telling me to, is telling my brain to get those out of there. And so I eventually, after talking to doctors, and they told me, don't you dare get off of this stuff, I got off of the stuff myself and never went back to regular medicine again.
So you trained as
a doctor of Oriental medicine.
So what does that mean?
So that means I went to an acupuncture school in a state where when you graduate, you become a doctor of Oriental medicine. So I decided, I left Notre Dame, broke my parents' heart, but I could not do the kind of medicine and research because it was worse. It was worse than the possibility that I might black out. Just being stupid, kind of feeling like I was old, feeling like I couldn't respond to anything. So that's why I ended up first getting Reiki and couldn't go talk about that at Notre Dame. And so before long, I just said, I can't do this anymore. I gave back my scholarships and I ended up in massage school and then acupuncture school.
And have you managed to treat your seizures yourself?
Oh, I haven't had a seizure in 20 years.
Okay, so not that we're giving up medical advice, because we would never do that, Children's Health Defence, or you.
No.
But how did you treat your seizures?
Well, I got off the medications, first of all. But honestly, with nutrition and then in Chinese medicine, you are using acupuncture and herbs to detoxify, clean the blood, move the qi properly. We think about things as a seizure being actually too much wind in certain channels, like the liver channels, etc. And so using different therapies, herbs and acupuncture to soothe liver, create better digestion, etc., etc. So of course that's what I do all the time now for everybody else.
You help people that have had COVID injuries as well.
Oh yes, yeah. No, yes, more and more people realize, oh, I got trigeminal neuralgia after the booster. That, and they hear about me and we use nutrition mostly.
What about shedding? So many people that did not take the shot getting terribly ill.
I had my own.
It's
real. It was very real, very real. A patient of mine came in and burst into tears one day as soon as I shut the door to be with her. And I was like, what is going on? And she said, you're gonna hate me. I got the shot. I couldn't stand my family pressure. It was the Moderna shot. And I said, oh my gosh, I could not stand her crying. I had so many patients that got it because grandma said, I won't see the grandkids, or you can't come see me, or, whatever it was. And her family was pressuring her. She got a shot. I saw her the same day she got it. I thought, oh my God, I should probably kick her out of here, but I cannot because, I do this and it's compassion and I've got to make sure she knows she's going to be okay. And I ended up, by the end of the week, in a COVID pain attack. And it took me about a year with things like proteolytic enzymes and other kinds of nutrition to actually get rid of pretty debilitating pain.
Okay, tell me about what shedding pain was like.
It was all of a sudden low back pain that I have never had before, and no structural reason. I was I did really moderate exercise, took really pretty good care of myself, and just all of a sudden I went home at the end of the workday a couple days after that, and I was in screaming pain for an entire weekend. Saw the chiropractor on Monday. We couldn't figure it out. Was in screaming pain for a while and just kept trying to figure out what it was. And a lot of it was basically the scar tissue from an old surgery from 25 years prior. The scar tissue started spiking up, shall we say.
Because you were shut on.
Mm-hmm. And it was ovarian scar tissue, and it ended up really, it took me a lot of work to get over it completely.
So we're hearing of people with someone yesterday who had a full-blown stroke from being shed on. We're hearing
not
people
surprising.
With heart conditions that are totally unvaccinated, now in heart failure.
Anytime you get exposed to these spike proteins, they tear up the insides of your vessels. And so anywhere that you already have more restriction of your vessels, now you get torn up vasculature and everything starts to stick. What is a stroke? No more circulation because everything is stuck. What is pain? Chinese medicine, I knew instantly what it was. Chinese medicine always tells you where there is pain, there is stagnation. Where there is pain that's always in one place, there is stasis, stuck, solid, locked in, no circulation.
Is there a way people can follow you and learn more about you? Do you have any website?
My website is the word Catalyst, CATALYST, wellness, AZ for Arizona.com. And my Instagram, Facebook are also Catalyst, CATALYST_wellness. And I'm not the best social media person because I just like people one-on-one. But oh my gosh, we can work miracles. You are not irrevocably broken as long as you get out of the irrevocably broken system.
Well, I enjoyed this interview very much. Thank you. It was very empowering. And I'm sorry you had,
I wouldn't be doing what I do if I hadn't had the experiences I had.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Polly.
I had a battalion commander come to me and she said, "Dear God, we're killing our own soldiers."
We gather today to honor the incredible service members.
We owe you our thanks. We owe you our respect, and we owe you our freedom. just as we have gathered before to remember those who served, those who fought, and those who gave their last full measure of devotion for our country.
According to the Associated Press, the Pentagon is going to require vaccines for all service members.
I'm asking the Defense Department to look into how and when they will add COVID-19 to the list of vaccinations our armed forces must get.
The military was ordering service members to take a shot that they could not lawfully order them to take.
Are you choosing to be non-compliant? Get on the floor! Get on the floor!
Leaders did everything legal or illegal within their power to coerce and influence their service members to get the shot.
I'll never forget, I received a phone call from a mother whose son was a Marine at 29 Palms, and she told me her son and 9 other Marines were being held in confinement in the brig until they got vaccinated.
If you don't do what they tell you to do, they will ostracize you. They will destroy your life.
Stop resisting or you will get tased!
They threatened me with Leavenworth imprisonment. They banned me from all Army Public Health Center facilities for 413 days.
I counted over 140 days where I was put into isolation.
Once it becomes normalized in the military, it often very quickly finds its way into the civilian population, as we saw with the COVID mandate.
The effects extend well beyond just those in uniform, and the impact is really on the entire nation.
8,000 well-trained men and women were fired.
I lost my income. I lost my ability to feed my family.
I mean, I'm being told you're getting dishonorably discharged.
And if you get dishonorable, you lose everything. You can't get certain jobs as a civilian. It follows you for life.
You cannot mandate an experimental medical product. You cannot mandate that on military members.
In my entire medical career prior to this, I had never seen a young person with a stroke. I had never seen someone have a massive clot without provocation.
We were in great shape. We were doing very well. But then as soon after the vax is when my health went downhill.
When people celebrate all the freedoms that the military gets to grant this country, when the military's freedoms and really the country's freedoms are actually being taken away.
Why was the vaccine mandate unlawful? How come the Secretary of War is telling us that the vaccine mandate was unlawful?
We all know that the previous administration issued unlawful orders on mandatory vaccines on an experimental vaccine, COVID-19. You know it, we know it.
You are taught that you have a duty to disobey unlawful orders.
You know, they postulated that we're going to have back pay for members that were kicked out. They're inviting these warriors back into service.
And that was huge. And I was so happy to hear that. But that does nothing for the institution itself.
What I have understood from people in the military is that it has not been made easy and that it really still needs to be done on an individual basis.
We haven't stopped in 4 years when everybody was ignoring us, and we're not going to stop for another 4, 14, or 40 years.
We are at a critical juncture, and the soul of this nation is at stake.
When we talk about orders that are unlawful, now there is a duty to disobey.
This and all CHD TV programming is made possible by generous support from viewers like you. Please consider making a contribution today to keep our programming going strong. Thank you.